Hello everyone, this is Tim with Paintball Tech. Got a parts rebuild video for you guys today. This is one of the original hybrid push button ASAs. So to rebuild this, there is just a core between these two brass hex pieces. This side is a core that goes all the way through. This side is just a screw cap that holds that from getting pushed out. The fitting just screws into the front. There is no movable pin in the back, so as soon as you put the air tank on this ASA, it will gas up to the spool here, and then when you press the spool across, it lets the air into the fitting and into your marker. So to rebuild this, you do need two 3/16 Allen wrenches. It is a 3/16 hex on both sides. Insert one key in one side, and then use the other one to unscrew the cap. Now this part is brass and the threading is very small in it, so do be very careful, because if you are too rough with this, it will snap the threading off of this piece and you are out of luck. Once you have this piece off, the spool that's on the inside can just be pushed out the opposite side of the housing, like that. With the spool out, you can clean any goo or grime off of it with a towel. These were originally built with polyurethane O-rings inside, and sometimes they turn to gum after being neglected for years, so you might have to wipe this off with some isopropyl alcohol or something to get any of the grime off of it. Now, the rest of the internals in here, there are 3 parts and 3 O-rings. They are held in by this little brass ring with 4 holes on it. Now, originally, this ASA came with a tool to take this part out. The tool looks like this. If you happen to have one in your kit, you are lucky. To get the ring out, you just line up the pins with the holes and just unthread it like that. If you don't have one of these tools, which most of you probably won't, you can use something like a set of very fine neo-nose pliers like these, or a set of C-clip pliers like these here, something with a really fine small tip on it, and use that to grab 2 of the 4 points on the ring, and then you can unscrew it that way. A little bit more of a pain to do, but in a pinch, it'll usually work. See? Just like that. Once this part's out, clean it off if it has any grime on it. Then inside the ASA, you'll see you have one O-ring that's directly underneath the locking ring there. That one will come out. These are all the original rings. This is the first time I pulled this part, so these are all kind of gross and crumbly. You'll have the middle spool, which sometimes these are aluminum, sometimes they're brass. In this ASA, they happen to be the aluminum versions. There'll be another O-ring underneath that. Then you'll also have the next spool, which is a smaller one. And finally, the bottom O-ring that sits in the bottom of the housing. Now, with those all out, you can see it's just the hollow opening and whatever grime and dirt is left inside there. Use a nice microfiber towel or some Q-tips, maybe some isopropyl alcohol if you need to clean everything out as best as you can. A nice dental pick will get any gunk out of the threading if you have to. All right. And also be sure to clean the internal spools of any grime or gunk that are on them. In this case, these O-rings came out kind of nice, even though they are crumbly. I want to get rid of these, obviously, because they're no longer usable. Now, the O-rings that I use to rebuild these are polyurethane 90 durometer. They have to be 90 durometer because you want them a harder seal that compresses when you put the spool back in. Originally they were built with polyurethane, so I use polyurethane O-rings when I put them back together. I have seen them rebuilt with Buna 90 O-rings instead. However, just for the sake of being original, I stick with polyurethane. You can find polyurethane 90 durometer O-rings at the oringstore.com. I suggest getting the Disagrin cast polyurethane. They're more expensive, but they do last a lot longer. Now to reassemble everything, the order that everything goes in, you have the piston, O-ring, small spool, O-ring, large spool, O-ring, cap, and then the screw. So that's the order from left to right, if you're looking at the bottom of the ASA. So these are going to be a little bit oversized for the hole, but you want them to compress into place. So drop your first O-ring down. The small spool goes over that. Next O-ring goes in. The large spool goes over that one. You can just press them down into the body as you go. And then the last O-ring, you're probably not going to get it to set in place. But once you put the lock ring on, it'll snap it into the body where it's supposed to go. Before you put that one in, make sure that those are seated. And then I usually use silicone grease. This is just super lube that I've got in a syringe. I'm going to put it onto my handy little spike tool. Then use that to run it around inside the cylinder, inside those O-rings. Make sure they've got some grease on them. Yep. And a little bit for this last O-ring before it goes in. Then we're going to put the locking ring back on top. Like I said, this will seat that final O-ring in place. So I just tightened it down, but I'm going to pull it out so it'll show you. Now that ring is locked into the groove where it's supposed to go. So you don't want to over tighten these parts because they are brass, like I said. You want to be able to take them out when you need to without having to force anything. A little bit more silicone grease. This goes on to the push button. That gets pushed in from the side opposite of the lock ring. Make sure that it moves. Then your locking screw goes back in and threads into the push pin. Like I said, this is brass and it's fragile, and you don't want to snap those threads off. So when you tighten this down, just give it a little snug finger tightening. You don't want to overdo it because, like I said, if you snap that threading off, you're toast. Once that's all set, you should be all good to go and ready to use this on your next build. Thanks very much, guys. Have a good day.